Good morning, I'm Jeffery Burch. I'm here today to demonstrate the ultra-slow mobility testing technique. This is one that I developed. In the context of it, I will also be demonstrating additional techniques, all of which are in my book. Damien is here to be our demonstration model for this morning. And as I mentioned, all of the techniques that I'm demonstrating today are in my book, Assessment and Treatment Methods for Manual Therapists. Okay, all right, so what I'm gonna do first is ask Damien, is there anything in your body that is less mobile, either doesn't go as far or doesn't go as easily as something else?
My right hip feels a little less mobile, yes.
Your right hip?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's start by investigating that. Come lie on your back on the table. And if I roll this hip in, it goes that far. And if I roll this hip out, it goes not quite as far that way, but compared to all the hips that I've tested, hey, pretty good. Let's take a look at this one over here. This hip has substantially less interest in rolling in than the other one did, and essentially no interest in rolling out. So I see what you mean about stiff hip here.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll take that on as a project for working with the ultra-slow mobility testing, and we will discover that probably several things that are limiting that hip and a good sequence for releasing them. But on the way to that, I want to look for what may be primary in your body, which may or may not be at the area of complaint. It works out better if we treat that first. So stand again, and I'm going to use Jean-Pierre Barral's general listening assessment method to look for the place that I can work in Damien's body today that's going to make the most positive change for all of Damien. So I'm treating her body as a structural column. If I put a little more load on it, the first thing that happens is she falls right. Is it in the lower limb? There's a witness point for the whole limb at the greater trochanter, and the answer is no. It's on the right side, but it's not in the right lower limb. Is it in the upper limb? It is not. Is it something plural? It is. The question is where? Aha. And would you turn 90 degrees, please? So it turns out to be here. So he falls right, and if I give a little support here, she does not, which points to this area. And the witness point for the pleura at the middle scalene muscle indicated as plural. If I look at glide of ribs over lung here, it goes. If I look at glide of ribs over lung here, it doesn't go, confirming that we do have a pleural adhesion. Treatment is easy. I'm going to give a little support in the front. I'm going to lift the ribs gently. And now, what's supposed to happen in breath is as the ribs go up on an inhale, the diaphragm's going down, which lengthens the lung vertically. So there should be up-down glide between the lung and the chest wall, but they've been stuck together. I'm holding the ribs up, and each time that Damien happens to take a deep breath, she's exerting a little shear force through here, and voila, she just took it apart inside with her breath. Okay, so I've dealt with this first primary. Come back to lying on your back on the table. And my first curiosity is, did that in any extent improve the mobility of this hip? It's possible, but wouldn't necessarily have. And the answer is, oh my gosh, kind of a lot, particularly for internal rotation. An excellent example of how everything in the body is connected. However, external rotation, man, that's still improvable. Okay, so, Damien, come back up to standing again. Damien and I are going to do a little demonstration here, mocking up what we're going to do with rubber bands. So you see here 3 different rubber bands. Like tissues in the body, each of them has its unique stretchiness. Unlike tissues in the body, These rubber bands do not exhibit plasticity. I can't easily change their length or elasticity, but with human tissue, I can. So we're going to mock this up, and I'll show you the fake I'm going to use to pretend that I'm changing the stretchiness of these items. So Damien, I'm going to line these up here and put a finger inside all three of these. Good. And then I'm going to get a hold of each of them with a separate finger. Now you have to imagine that there are more tensional elements running both ways in other directions. It's three-dimensional in the body between all of these things. So each of them is supporting the span between these. However, if I slack them all and then start to come out very slowly, you see that it's the little amber one that we run up against first. So it's right away taking more load as I advance. Now, if I were treating tissue, I would work with the tissue with that amber rubber band to make it longer and more elastic. But I don't have a way to do that, so I'm going to fake it by moving the finger that it's associated in with a little bit, slacking it. Now, as I come out again, now I first come up against the green one. And again, in a treatment process, what I would do would be to treat that one to increase its length and elasticity. All right, but so again, I'm going to fake that here by moving my finger in. And now we come up against the blue one first. And so I could similarly treat it, so we get to a situation where all of them share the load equally in here. So this is the ultra slow mobility testing process. It's lovely with rubber bands. Now we'll demonstrate it with an actual human being. Come lie on your back on the table. So again, internal roll with this hip is now working significantly better than it was. As I do it from here, I see, well, someday we might make it even a little bit better, but we're better at the moment than external roll is. So just like I did with the rubber bands, I'm going to slack all of the elements that are limiting external roll. I'm taking her with some pounds of load into the easy direction. And notice I've got a hold of the pelvis, so because I don't want to roll the pelvis in, I want the relationship between the two. And as I start to spring back out in this, the very first thing that I feel is right here, which has exactly the location and shape of the pectineus muscle, which is an internal rotator of the hip. So if it were acting tight, it would be one of the things that was limiting external rotation. So if I approach this little muscle, sure enough, it's acting more taut in there than it should be. Now, you might think I would work on the muscle, but the two most common things that will make a muscle appear tight is if the artery to the muscle is strung too tight and or the nerve to the muscle is strung too tight. So I'm going to come up here to the bifurcation of the aorta and slack the branch of the external iliac artery that serves the pectineus muscle. And now the leg rolls out farther and it doesn't look as taut. So I'm going to, I've got slack from both ends from the bifurcation of the aorta and a long lever approach to this muscle, and I spring out to where I feel the first hint of resistance. Call it a first barrier stretch. And from there, I'm going to slowly go back and forth with my two hands, take them both proximal, both distal. We call this a flossing technique, and there, it yields. And now that muscle doesn't feel so taut, and the leg can externally rotate more. And that was lovely, but I get greedy about this kind of thing, and I want the rest of it. So again, we're going to slack this way, and I'm going to spring back out. And now, the first thing that I encounter is a little distal to that right here. And it's not immediately clear to me what that is. I'm going to touch right here using Jean-Pierre Barral's local listening, and the local listening pull has only the slightest curve to it. So this isn't quite at the surface of the body, but it's not very deep at all. And I notice the speed, direction, degree of curve, and length that this goes. And now I'm going to fish layer by layer. Does that picture exist in the skin? It does not. There's no pull there. Is it in the superficial fascia? It's not. That has a different pull in it. Is it in the deep fascia? Aha, there it is. So it's in the deep fascia right here. So I slack skin and superficial fascia, sink down to the deep fascia, and put a first barrier stretch on that. Just because I've got it so it's elastic in one way tells us nothing about elasticity in the other direction. So we go there and prove that also. And again, that further improved external rotation. Okay, is there more here? So internally rotate again, slacked everything that could be holding this in internal rotation, and begin to come out again. And I feel something right up here. The anatomy suggests that could be the right round ligament of the uterus, which comes over the front of the pelvis, has some attachment into the pubic bone, but has most of its terminus in fascia in the labia majora and by an extension on down through the adductor compartment. So, bladder, fundus of uterus, slack, goes much farther. So there I've got a double long lever stretch on the right round ligament of the uterus, and it was quite eager to join the party in here, no problem at all. Let's look at this again. That rolls out a whole lot more than before we started. So, but let's compare it with the other one now. Oh my, I've got the right one externally rotating more than the left one. So I could be on with playing this game with other things in the body. In this instance, all three of the bits that I got to work with were within a rather small radius right there. It's not always like that. In fact, it's usually not. Keep your eyes open. Remember that the first thing that actually improved the mobility of this hip was already all of the way up in the pleural adhesion there. So these things can be at any distance in the body that you may feel this. Okay, all right, Damien, stand and just walk over to the door and back. What are you aware of about your body at the moment?
Just an ease in swinging that leg through. Like I didn't realize how restricted my hip was in movement, so it feels a lot smoother in movement. Yeah, my chest even feels like easier.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so let's bookend this with what is now primary of your body after we've changed a bunch of things. I did a primary at the beginning, and then I worked not in primary sequence, which was lovely. It freed up your hip, but I may have made some other little imbalances with that. So let's find out where I can work with you that's going to make the most benefit for your whole body again. Turn to face the green wall. And now you fall left, and it looks like it's here in your neck. And if I touch right there, you don't fall left. If I'm a little off that, you do. It's quite focal right here. Interestingly, that's just sort of at the posterior edge of the vertebrae right there. What is the depth signature of this like? It's a moderate depth, suggesting something in spinal mechanics. So given location and depth, my suspicion is a ligamentum flavum in this area. Let's find out. Come lie on your back on the table. All right. Tell you what, move just to 2 inches footward on the table. There you go. All right. So I'm going to look at big picture of mobility in your neck. Incidental finding, your head lands subtly right side bent and right rotated, which is a mild surprise given that this primary is on the left. Okay, but life is full of surprises. Here we go. What does side bending to this side look like? Okay, you know, it could go a little farther, but again, compared to all the necks I've tested, not bad. What about going this way? It has essentially no interest in side bending to the right, which fits with something being tight over here, but we have the ongoing mystery of why did your head land to the right? There's more to the picture. What about rotation? Pretty decent that way. We could improve it a little bit, but not bad. Going this way, less over here. What does extension look like? Well, again, pretty good, but improvable. What about flexion? Actually quite good. Well, I'm here between, I've got a hold of the first cervical vertebra. I'm using initially my right fingers as a fulcrum between 1 and 2. How good is side bending between 1 and 2? Pretty good. What's left side bending? Not. Ha! So there is something of interest over here on the right, but her body wasn't pointing to that as primary. Let's go one segment down between C2 and 3. Goes not. So between C2 and 3 is consistent with the general listening that I found. All right, and I was suspicious of ligamentum flavum. Ligamentum flavum at this level on the right has good span. On the left does not. So I'm going to put a first barrier stretch on that. I've got tips of my middle fingers on C3, tips of my fourth fingers on C2, and I've got a combined right side bending and extension load, very gentle to stretch that thing out. Okay, let's go back to the big picture of movement in the neck. Distinctly more right side bending available, a bit more extension, even more flexion available. So clearly there are more things that can be done in Damien's neck, and it's tempting to stay here like a little terrier digging out all of the rodents in the holes here, but what's primary may well be somewhere else, could be anywhere in her body. Okay, come on back up to standing again. Yeah, and your neck just looks longer. Do you have any observations about your body at the moment?
It just feels like there's more like length and calmness in my shoulders and more rise out of my skull.
All right. Thank you very much for helping us with this morning. All right. That was the demonstration of ultra-slow mobility testing contextualized by working with primary lesions in the body. Thank you very much.